How's it going, everybody? Coach D here from All Out Athletes. And thanks for joining me once again on our The Last Dance Baseball Tournament podcast. And we're just going to keep bringing on coaches and just keep rolling them out. And so some might still be asking, what's The Last Dance? Well, as there's no sports happening in the whole state of New Jersey, Governor Murphy actually approved them to have high school baseball, to have one last dance for the seniors for baseball. Now, it's not sponsored by the NJSIAA, who governs high school baseball. So they have to come up with their own money to pay for the referees. They have to come up with their own uniforms. So it's like sandlot baseball. And everybody's so excited because they get to play baseball again. It's like how we always wanted the athletes to act when they first walk onto a field. Just bring that excitement. And now it's back. Now the athletes can feel the passion that the coaches feel every single day, that the coach has been trying to project to them for years, that this isn't a have to. You get to play this game. Act like you get to play it. And now we got a bunch of athletes that are acting that way. They're so excited. Everybody's excited. So with me on my podcast today, before I tell you who he is, let me tell you his background. He graduated at Randolph High School. From there, he went to Seton Hall University, but that wasn't good enough. He said, you know what, I want to start coaching right now. Why wait? So he started coaching. He was 19, and he started coaching for the Morris County Majors. They actually have an adult league he was coaching for, and he did, I guess, such a good job there that the County College of Morris wanted him to come over as an assistant baseball coach. And then from there, he coached over at FDU Madison, which is now Florham, right? And over there, it was the first time they won the Mid-Atlantic Conference, right? And they also got to the Division III tournament. And then from there, he went to the New Jersey Institute of Technology. And then he said, you know what? I want to take off a few years. But somebody called him from Seton Hall and said, no, come on over here. We need you for a couple years. So after that, he took off to spend time with his family. And it was a good thing he did that, because he went, I guess while he was sitting home and he had some free time, he started thinking, why don't I do something? Let me do something productive. So he opened up a business. And the business he opened up was Complete Player. It was called the Complete Players for baseball and softball. And he does training out of that. Where's that town? What town is that in, Coach?
That was in Flanders.
Flanders. Okay, yeah, that's in Flanders. And then from there, something strange happened that I want to get the story, that he started coaching over at Mount Olive High School, and the first day he coached was opening day. So I want to get that story of how that, he never knew the athletes before, and I think that was the first time they were in the sectional semifinals. It might not have been the first time, but that's his first year, and they get to sectional semifinals. So that should be a pretty good story. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Jim McDermott. Coach Jim, how's it going?
Very well.
I like to give the stats on the coaches a lot, and even if it's long-winded, because I really want the athletes to know the coach that they're getting. I don't think they know everything. So it's not about, boosting the coach up. It's to let everybody know exactly what these guys have been through. The background that they have, they could really help you. They have a lot of answers. They don't have all the answers. We act like we have all the answers sometimes, but pick their brain. Athletes don't pick brains enough. They'll give you everything you want. They'll give it to you. Just ask them. So, Jim, thanks for joining us. And how did you get the Mount Olive job? How did that come about?
Well, it was very interesting. I owned a baseball training facility in Flanders, and Mount Olive High School would come down there in the winter and work out. So I met the head coach. Tim Summerow, and funny you should ask, last night we had a retirement dinner for him. He just retired from teaching, and he had coached for a while, but he was the varsity coach back then, and he gave me a call one night. He goes, hey, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm running my business. And he goes, well, I need a freshman baseball coach. I go, when? He goes, tomorrow. I go, what do you mean? He said, the freshman coach that they had to release him because something occurred at practice. The coach left. He left the kids at the field by themselves, got in his car, and drove home. So I'm teaching in Roxbury at that point, and I had to go in and ask my principal, would it be okay if I could coach, leave right at the bell and do that. So he said, sure, no problem. So this is April 1st, opening day. I get board approved the night before in an emergency whatever meeting. So that day I show up at the high school, and this is the way it was back then. We had one bus, okay? We drove to Mendham High School for opening day freshman baseball. I had never met the kids. I don't know their names. I didn't know what positions they played. We get on a bus, and the bus was going to drop us off at Mendham, which is about a 25-minute ride from Mount Olive High School, go back to Mount Olive, do their run of dropping off the middle school students, and then come back and pick us up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Downside was there was thunderstorms in the area. So we got there at 2:30 for a 4 o'clock game. It's a little rainy, not too bad. So I'm sitting under the Mendham High School home football bleachers with my players, asking them their names, what positions they play. And then I went around and I asked each kid individually who I should play where, and I basically took a vote. So that's how I decided that Louis Scambaccara was pitching opening day for me. Okay, and Danny Lyons was going to be my catcher, and Matt DeZino was going to play shortstop, and Joey Reck was going to play second. So we get there, and Jim Baglin, the AD, comes down. It's starting to rain pretty good right now. And he goes, do you really want to do this? And then he asked me, because I know him from refereeing basketball. He goes, what the heck are you doing here? I go, I'm the freshman coach. He goes, how long? I go, about 4 hours. He goes, what are you talking about? I go, I got hired 4 hours ago. So he goes, well, what's that? I go, Jim, I don't care if we get one pitch in the game in. I want to be able to take an infield and outfield. I want to learn the kids' names and see what happens. We got one out in the game, and then it was rained out. We went back under the bleachers and sat under the football bleachers until our bus arrived an hour later. And by then I had an idea who each kid was. The next day happened to be Good Friday. And I asked the athletic director at the time, Ed Lazzara, could I practice? Because it was always a never practice, no practice on. He goes, as long as you're done by noon. I go, I don't know who these kids are. So we practiced on Good Friday and then on Saturday. And then we started playing on Monday. And I was the freshman coach for like 6 or 7 years. And then the varsity coach, Tim Summerall, one day, I'll never forget this. I'm leaving and the varsity's practicing, and he comes over and he goes, hey, Jim, you want to be the varsity coach next year? I go, why? He goes, I'm tired of the varsity. He goes, I like to be the freshman coach. We can switch. I'm like, sure, okay. So the following year we switched, and I took over the varsity, and he took over the freshman. It took a couple years, and then we had some pretty good teams. And then like my third or fourth year, we made it to the sectional semis, and then we won the North Jersey section Group 3. We won all of North Jersey Group 3, and we lost in the Group 3 finals to a really good mainland team in 2014. 2015, we won the sectionals again. We lost to a really good South Plainfield team in the North Jersey finals. I've been doing it ever since. I enjoy it. It's fun.
So it's interesting because the last thing coaches want to do is ask players where people should play. That's like the last thing on their mind. Where do you think they should? So that's a good story. It's a good story. So what do you think of this Last Dance baseball tournament, put together by Mike Murray of the St. Joe's athletic director, John Kroger, who's a scout for the Cincinnati Reds, and Brian Chapman from Milburn. It was Mike's idea, and then Brian and John are also the workhorses with him. What do you think about this tournament? I know every coach I ask them to tell me they're so excited because we all are. And so what do you think about it? And what do you think about the safety precautions and things like that? Are you concerned about anything? Have you heard any of the new rules? I know the governor's coming out. They're going to set a standard of what the rules are. Mike Murray went on them over on the other on the other podcast I had with him. So
I think it's a really great idea. And for me at Mount Olive, I had 3 seniors. Unfortunately, one of them has to report to West Point on July 12th. and he won't be able to play. That was a very difficult conversation to have with him, explaining to him that the tournament got pushed back a week and knowing that he won't be able to play. He's just a great, great kid. But you're going to be reading about him on the baseball field and then later on in life. He's that type of kid. But my other two seniors, they're also going to play in college. So it's a great opportunity, and they're really, really excited to get going. Like, it's a last dance. One more chance to play with the kids you've been playing with your whole life. Like my two kids, Will and Thomas, they're fortunate that in the fall, they're going to put a uniform on at the colleges that they're going to and be able to play again. But for some of these kids, this is the last time they're going to be able to be in a dugout with their friends. Yes, there's no bus rides and things like that, but you're able to hang out with your friends. Yes, you're talking about baseball, but they also talk about life experiences when they're on the bench. You know, for a season, a lot of times as a coach, you're like, what are you talking about? How many outs are there? What's going on in the game? And they're elsewhere. But I think for this, these kids are going to be focused, but they're going to enjoy the moment of playing with these other kids. And I think it's a great, great idea.
All the coaches bring up that point that I think gets missed a lot in sports, is that the team just sitting next to somebody. It's hard to explain. It's hard for me to really it's not hard to explain, but like some people who I have friends who don't play sports. They don't want to know anything about sports. They see the negativity on TV about sports. So that's their definition of sports, right? And I think that if athletes don't get what you're talking about and what other coaches are talking about, that team unity, talking about life on the bench, that you're not going to get anywhere else in life. What you get from sports is when you see athletes celebrating the success of someone else when they hit a home run, when they do good. Because, you know, we grow up in a lot of us grew up in a me generation, and we see them go out of their way to help somebody else. Just like years ago with that sportsmanship video we saw where the girls from the other team, the girl, I think she tore her ACL, and they picked her up and walked around the bases and put her. And that's what sports is about. This is the last dance. It is a dance. Without the other team is your dance partner. Without the other team, there's no game. You know, how many times the other team shows up and we hate them? No, we're glad they're here. I know they're your enemy. I know you want to know. But without the other team, there's no game. And now that you have another team, everybody's excited to play this beautiful game of baseball. And can you speak about when you played when you were a kid, how it was and the enjoyment you got and where you played? And
I played at Randolph High School. I played football and baseball. I was not the best athlete or the best player by any means, but I enjoyed just what we're talking about, the team camaraderie. You know, when I get together with my friends from back in high school and stuff, we talk about funny things that happened in practice, something that happened on a bus or in the locker room. You know, like even the high school kids that we deal with now, you know, some of the older kids will come back and they were, oh yeah, do you remember when so-and-so stepped on the rake and it came up and it hit him you know where, and oh, he fell to the ground, and we're giggling and laughing. Or, you know, when a kid makes a great play, or they have their own little chant or dance or whatever they do, they come up with that's unique to them. Like I said, and I don't think sometimes parents of the kids who don't play much, they don't understand what their child is getting out of this. You know, they think just because only the players, the 9 kids on the field, are the ones that really matter. Well, no, it's whatever number roster you have. And each kid has a role. And each kid it's important for them to have success through their friends. And then when they get their opportunity to play, guess what? The kids who have been playing all the time, they jump right on board that bandwagon. And they're the biggest cheerleaders. And they want nothing more than to see their friend who might not play much do very well and have success because they saw how hard he worked in practice. And I think with this tournament, you're giving some seniors, like I said, I'm very fortunate this year. We only have 2 seniors. They're going to play pretty much every inning of the 3 games, and we'll move them around a little bit and have some fun. But it's their last hurrah. So, and, you know, some of the other guys like, go ahead and do it. Let's go have some fun. And it's just like, But baseball is the greatest game. So I love it. I felt that way. I still feel that way. I'm still very, very passionate about the game. And I think a lot of the kids are. And I think having not had it for the spring, I think there's like a little reconnect to the beauty of the game for these kids. And some of them, they've worked so hard, and then you have 5 practices, and then somebody pops the balloon and takes all the air out, and then you're thinking, okay, this is only going to be maybe 2-3 weeks tops. We'll be playing. We'll get back the middle of April. We'll start games and this and that. And then, we'll be back the end of April. We'll start games in May. And then once you hit that beginning of May, it's like, this ain't happening. And I'm trying to tell you guys, don't get your hopes up. We'll see what happens when it happens. But I'm not real optimistic. I'm telling you right now. What are you going to do? When you want to take care of kids, you're not going to go out there and practice for a week and say, hey, let's go play a season, play 10 games in, 18 days. That's just not right. So I think the way they're doing this now, which is nice, is they're giving us an opportunity. And like most of the people, like today, an edict came out from the state that high school coaches, we are allowed to coach beginning July 13th. The tournament starts the 14th. So like most of us, you get former players, parents, stuff like that, going to run practices to get the kids ready to go. And I know the tournament's pretty good. And we get it. We understand it. We're not going to take a picture and throw him out there for 90 pitches, figuring, that kid's a senior. He's never going to pitch again. Who cares if his arm hurts? I want the kid to be able to pick up his arm and play catch, down the road with a friend, a family member, even his kids. So we'll be smart that way. I think all the coaches feel the same way.
You bring up a few good points. One of them I want to talk about is that, it's, especially this day and age, it's extremely difficult to just be a parent. Extremely difficult. Then ask them to also be a sports parent. Right? So now, and why is a parent at the game? Why are all the parents at the game? For one reason. Not all, I'm sure there's different reasons, but what's the main reason? They want to see their kid play. And every coach understands that. Every athletic director, that's why everybody's there. And so it's got to be difficult for a lot of parents to just sit there and every game your kid doesn't get in, and every game, and they know. And, sometimes there's athletes playing with Division I players on the team, and it's just that year. And then the following year, those Division I's are gone and everybody gets to play, and it's just, but so on the flip side of it, I have parents complaining to me their kid's not playing, not on my team. I do individual trainings. But there's, so I say, what's your kid doing right now? Are they ready? Do they stay ready? Or do they always got to get ready, right? What are they doing right now? Do they do everything they possibly can to be the best on the team? So everybody has that same opportunity, right? There's things you could do now. So I worked with one athlete in basketball, and when he was in 10th grade, he said, it's not fun anymore. I don't play. I don't do this. Well, what can you do during a timeout? Can you bring energy to the team? Can you be the first one off the bench? Say, yeah, there it is. Let's go. Bring some energy, because there's nothing you can do. You're not going to – the only way you're going to change the coach's mind is be the best teammate you possibly can be. And then when you get out there, be the best. Just hustle every time. Hustle off the bench to high-five your teammates. Hustle in the game. Hustle up and down the floor. Be so you're just this crazy, most energetic athlete on the field that the coach goes, I got to give this guy some time. He's given us everything. He's given us more than the All-Stars given. I got to find a way. Be so energetic into your team that the coach has to say, that the players are going, yo, get him in, because you're such a fan of your team already, and you celebrate so much success for you. There's so much more you can do even though you're not playing, and that's one thing a lot of people don't talk about. But yeah, I think it's so. Like I said, I think you make a good point there that they're getting so much from the team, but you won't know that until they're with their buddies, as you said, 15 years later, and talking about what happened in practice. So
I'll give you a funny story. I'm not going to use the kids' names. Probably like my 3rd or 4th year, we had a really good, close-knit group of seniors, okay? And they hung out and they did things together. And there was one boy who, was being raised by a single parent, didn't have a lot of money or a lot of extra things, and he was the kid you're talking about. He was really quick. He was our speed up runner, or we call him our rabbit. Hey, let's go get the rabbit ready. He's going to go in and run. After the game, they were all going to go down to a local restaurant to get something to eat. And the kid's like, I have no money. I have no gas in the car. I'm barely going to make it home. I'll do anything for money. So, of course, one of the kids says, anything for money? He goes, yeah, I'll do just about anything for money. The kid looks down in a puddle and he sees a worm. He goes, would you eat that worm? He goes, for $10, I will. Two kids, each gave him $10. He ate the worm, filled up his gas tank, went down, had a burger with his friends, and had money for left over for the week. And they still talk about it, and that was about 12 years ago. That they remembered when the kid when this boy ate worms for money.
They told you this story?
Yes. Yes. They told me the next day. They're like, Coach, you wouldn't believe what so-and-so did. And I kind of knew a situation like, I know, like, oh yeah, we were all going down to this local restaurant. But they were going down to Fuddruckers to go have, to go get a burger and fries and hang out together. And they go, and so-and-so, he was the only senior who couldn't make it, and he didn't have any money. So I says, I'm glad you told me now and not beforehand, because I would have told the kid no. I would have said, here, whenever you get the money back, here's money, you can borrow it. I don't want you eating worms and the kids still talk about it. And the kid talks about it proudly.
I don't know what it was with my friends, but it was always like, I dare you to eat that. Right? Yeah. I don't know what's with guys, but it's always, I dare you to eat that. Like, if I drop this on the floor, if I drop this over here, it's just, but that's guys' go-to for some reason.
Goes back to, like you're talking about, they're not going to remember, oh, I struck out today, or I hit into a double play with the bases loaded in the tying run at third in the last inning, or I flew out, or I dropped the fly ball, or kicked the ground ball. That stuff doesn't matter. When the game happens and we would have won if so-and-so didn't do this, or my son was better than so-and-so and would have made the play. That stuff gets pushed to the side really quickly. And they remember the good things, the fun times.
Plus the fact it gets exaggerated, right? He used to hit 280. Now every year he hits 285, 290. Now he's up to 320, right? Yeah. So all those stats get exaggerated anyway. So do you know when the games are starting on the 14th? Do you have any idea where you'll be playing up north, or where the games are going to be? I know they're still working on fields.
We are hosting at Russ Nagel Field in Mount Olive.
Okay.
Yes. I have a really good idea. I know who's in our pod. I was on the phone call last night with Chapman and Troger till 11 o'clock at night. So I kind of know a little bit more than some as to who's going where and when in Morris County. Because some of the guys weren't familiar, so they called to act like logistically. You didn't want somebody driving, you could be, we're the farthest point west in Morris County. Okay, so you have somebody coming from Madison or Montville, it could take 45 minutes to get there. It could take over an hour if you're coming on Route 80 and traffic hits. So we're just trying to help them logistically, pairing some people up at certain spots.
Do you know anything about rules with the fans? Like, yes. The parents are going to be – okay, go ahead.
Fans will be allowed to arrive 15 minutes before the game. They're going to have to social distance themselves down the foul lines. They're going to have the bench areas roped off or marked off. There's going to be site managers. There's going to be trainers at every game. There's going to be protocols. There's going to be a trainer that each team will get there about an hour before the game. And, okay, temperature for Johnny Smith was 97.5. Good. He can go. Boom, Harry Bongiolola, whatever. Each kid comes in and they're going to register.
What's his name? Bongiolola?
Harry Bongiolola. So every kid comes in is going to get their temperature taken to register. Okay, and then they're all going to have a questionnaire to answer by the trainer who's there on site. Balls that get out of play are going to come into a certain person. They're going to disinfect the baseballs before they get put back in play again. So they have a really good plan on how to do stuff and how things are going to be done. So I know for us, there's going to be 2 teams playing at 4 o'clock, and then 2 teams will play at 7 o'clock. And that's going to be all 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be all 3 days in a row. Because I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out how you're fitting in 220 teams in a month.
Well, what they're doing is the first one is it's quasi pool play. Our pool or bracket is attached to another one. So just 4 teams. 1 seed plays the 4 seed, 2 plays the 3 the first day. The next day, the 2 losers meet at 4 o'clock. The 2 winners meet at 7 o'clock.
That's great.
They do the same thing in the other pod that's tied into this one. On Thursday, 2 teams that won the winner's bracket, they will meet for the right to move on to next week where it starts single elimination. The 2 0-2 teams will play. Okay? There's 2 teams that are 0-2. They will play. There are 2 teams that are 1-1. And the 2 teams that are 1-1 that lost to the winner's bracket game will play. The 2 teams that are 1-1 that won the winners, they will play the loser's bracket. So everybody's guaranteed 3 games. And then the following week, they move on to like more of a elimination pool where it's one and done. You lose and you're done. You know, and they have some really nice venues set up for that.
So, well, if you're 0-3, you're gone.
If you're the only way you move on is if you're undefeated. You have to go 3-0.
Oh, they're only taking the undefeated, so there's no wild cards.
There's no wild cards. That's why they're going to eliminate a good number of teams. So basically, you lose opening day, you're done. You lose the second day, you're done. You've got to be 3-0 to keep moving on. And I've talked to quite a few coaches. You know, it's not about getting to that championship game and winning everything. Hey, like I said, I'm just going to be happy to see my kids play 3 times. I want to see if some of these younger kids are as good as we thought they're going to be. Okay, or this kid who's made an adjustment that we really liked. You know, even our upperclassmen, our seniors, looked awesome the week or so we had them. Let's see if that's going to compute and come out now, even though it's 3 months later. If that change up the kid's working on, if it's still going to be there. If the kid hitting, you know, putting the ball, driving the ball in the gaps a little more, is that still going to be there? Just to evaluate it, and for the seniors to get off on it, to leave and walk away. You know, because in baseball, once you make the states, there's only what 6, 8 teams that walk away that win at the end.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about it, so you walk with your tail between your legs for a little bit. And this kind of gives a little bit of closure. Yeah, we didn't play 25 games in the playoffs. We played 3 games. Hey, we were 2-1. You know what? We gave it our best shot. We had some fun. Yes, not everybody was there, but that's not the important part of it. You know, have some closure this wacky spring that we had.
3, as I believe it's going to be, 3 of probably the top memorable games that they've ever played. Right? These 3 are going to be the most memorable games that they've been in. And, you know, at the beginning, right, it's not about winning. Everybody's just happy to play. But at some point, there will be 4 teams left. And then it will be a different story at some point. Or if a team goes 3-0, now they're thinking a little differently. Where some teams who lose that first game, the pressure's off. Now they can just, you know, there is pressure when there's the tournament. No matter how you look at it, it's still a tournament. So there's still that always pressure. Oh, if we lose, we're done. But then when that happens, sometimes teams relax and actually enjoy the game a lot more, which I'm sure you're going to see that with a lot of teams.
Yeah, and you know, some of these teams are, like I say, I only have 2 seniors. And like I said, they'll play pretty much every inning of all 3 games. There are some teams that have 10, 11, 12 seniors. So I know of one team that has 0. Right? They have no. They're just going to bring young kids up.
They got none. Yeah, they're just going to have just to have a season. That's why not?
And some of these kids are playing travel ball, so this is their baseball. Yeah. You know, I mean, basically the way it was looking is, as a high school coach, you could go 18 months and see your kids 5 days.
Right? That's a great point. It's a great point.
18 months and work with your kids for 5 days. That's not right. And I know a lot of coaches were going to ask for the NJSIAA to say, hey, if this wasn't happening, make a 1-year exception and let the high school coach who wants to coach his kids in fall ball. Coach a fall ball team. Okay, not pulling kids from other sports, but if you have kids that want to play, allow them the opportunity to coach those kids so they don't go 18 months without seeing them.
All right. That's a good point. Coach, it's been great having you on. It's been great going back and forth talking about baseball and talking about your younger days and, talking about, the story you gave me before about the way boys are when they're not supervised or, it was great. Do you have any last words? Any last words before we get to the last dance or something you want to share? Or let me ask you this before we go, as I asked all the other coaches, and I do a podcast on Thursday night with Dr. Gilbert. I don't know if you know Dr. Gilbert. He's a professor in sports psychology from Montclair. He's also a motivational speaker and author. We used to speak over at the Yogi Berra Museum. So we do a podcast every Thursday night, and every Thursday night, 8 p.m., it's on YouTube. Just type in All Out Athletes. You'll find a bunch of stuff, but it's me and it's the All Out Athletes podcast. And what we talk about is training, right? It's not about talent. It's about training. It's about going all out in your training. Are you totally energized and focused during training, right? It's all about you. It's about what you want. So as athletes right now, what you been doing for 3 months, right? Are you just going out there, what are you doing? Are you working on your weaknesses? Do you need to get stronger? You need to get your cardio up? What is it? What is it that you need to be a better overall athlete? Are you working on it? I don't care what you want. I care about what you do, right? So you show me your actions, and all the coaches will tell you your commitments. So what are you doing? So what do you do, coach, to fire that athlete up, to create that all-out athlete? Some coaches are rah-rah. Some coaches are in your face. When they make mistakes, they put their head down. So what do you do to get because to me, it's all about energy, right? It's all about energy. It's where you focus your energy. You can focus it on, I don't feel like it, I don't want to be. You can focus your energy on your feelings, or you can focus all your energy on your goals. That's what Olympians do. What's their goal? What's the date, right? So no matter how they feel, it doesn't matter. Their energy is focused on their goals. So what do you do to push past those feelings with the athletes to get them to play at that level you want them to play at?
Well, I'm fortunate enough that in January and February, I have a young lady, Amy Ottavia. She's a CrossFit guru in North Jersey, and she comes on Mondays and Thursday nights and works our kids to the bone for an hour on Monday and Thursday. And in the first week or two, they are not happy campers. But then she is so positive, and these kids love it, and they push themselves much farther than they ever think of. And she's always using key little phrases and words. Your mind, your body will do more if your mind lets it. Your body will not break down. Push through some stuff that's uncomfortable. And I live by, you only get better if it's uncomfortable. If it's easy, it's not good enough.
Can you spell her name? Can you spell her name?
Yeah, Ottavia. Her brother helps out at Mount Olive once in a while. Her brother was an All-American at Seton Hall. He played in the Yankee organization. Great guy, her brother Paul. But Amy, she's awesome. My kids love it. She's been doing it for 6 years now. So they come in. There's not a ball around. It's done with kettlebells and weight training and sled work, and we do fun stuff. Like every 3 or 4 times, she'll do competitive things because you want to see what kids are going to compete. If you're playing a dodgeball game with softballs, are you going to compete? What happens when you can tell a lot from a kid what's going to happen in the game by how they do other stuff.
Right. And as you said, I talk with coaches about how do you get your athletes to go all out, right? Like as you're talking about, you have somebody who's an all-out trainer. Who's, the way you're describing it, she's all into what she's doing to the point where the athletes ignite over it.
Okay,
all right. So, and it's hard because they don't want to do that stuff. That's a lot of work. They want to play baseball. They don't want to do that, right? They didn't go out for baseball just so they can do that. That wasn't on their mind. But yeah, so you have that trainer that's going all out that gets them into it. And then once they see the results, they get onto the field. It must be, what do we do all this training for? That must bring a lot more excitement to the game for them since they're going through the hard part. If that's the hardest part, the game should be a lot easier, right?
Exactly what we base it on right there, Coach. We do measurements the first day out. Hey, you know what? In 30 seconds, Johnny Jones only did 15 box jumps. You know what? And 8 weeks later, he's doing 23 box jumps at the same time. Okay, he started using 35-pound kettlebells for the farmer's carry down to the end of the hall and back. Now he's up to 50-pound kettlebells. So, and we make it fun, we make it competitive. She does an amazing job, and the kids buy into it. You brought up a point there before. When this COVID thing hit, I had Dolic and Wingo on in the morning. I just have it as background noise as I'm doing my schoolwork from home. Now, they had a session where they call in and tell me what you missed the most, right? So this dad calls in, and he goes, you know what I missed the most? He goes, I missed my son's senior year of playing high school baseball. And then the father said something that I use it, I talked to my kids about it, and it was perfect. The dad said, if I had only thought that last year would have been the last year he would have played baseball, I would have made a better effort to get to his games. So I tell my kids, think of that, guys. This year, you worked as hard as you could to get ready, and it was taken away, right? What would have happened if you didn't work so hard? Would you be as disappointed? No, because these kids busted as hard as they could all winter and in the preseason to get ready, because we were expected to do some really great things this year. And to have that air sucked out of you, that feeling, I want you to have that feeling. I don't want you to look back and say, you know what? If I had only worked a little bit harder, maybe I could have had a better year. We want you to look back and say, I worked as hard as I could. I did everything I could. It just didn't work out.
Coach, we talk about that all the time on the podcast. Athletes never come back after high school and go, it wasn't worth it. Winning the state finals. It's always the same thing. If I would have worked a little bit harder, I could have been All-American, right? It's always the same talk. And those are some of the things we talk about on the podcast. As you're saying, are you going all out in your training? Are you getting ready to stay? They got ready. Now they're ready. Now they're ready to go. Also, all that training wasn't for nothing, but you never know. And that's why you stay ready. And so you don't have to get ready. And that's the point. That's the point. What are you doing today? Are you an athlete, or are you just a kid that plays sports? Right? Because an athlete stays ready. That true athlete is staying ready. What are you doing to stay ready? Now, some of you probably just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anybody out there, but there might be a few kids that, we got to get to the batting cages. Now they were closed. Yes. But there are things, baseball's a little bit more difficult than some of the other sports because you need some other people to work on your skills. But there are other athletic and coordination skills and strength training as you're talking about. So don't worry about what you can't do. Just focus on what you can do. Focus on the things you can do to get ready. And I want everybody in any sport, I don't care what the sport is. I don't care if it's gymnastics, bowling, curling. I don't care what the sport is. Remember this feeling right now because it's only being given back to the baseball players. That's it. It's not being given back to anyone else. And I know basketball players who are sitting back. They got this whole summer to train now. They're not training. I know them. They're not training. Well, my season doesn't start till November. Oh, really? Remember when you were upset last year when you lost? You still got that feeling with you now? Now you're relaxing. This is where you win the game. Right now is where you win, not on game day. So are you going to come back a changed athlete? Are you going to be the same? Well, my sport's not till the winter. What are you doing right now? because when it's over, it's over. And you're going to spend the rest of your life thinking about what you could have done this summer, what you could have been. It goes from, you're either going to say, I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. And that's all up to you. So any other last words before we wrap it up, Coach?
Yeah. Coach Shepard at Seton Hall used to say, and I kind of picked up that little bit of a mantra, and I used it when I got to the high school level. If you're not getting better every day, you're getting worse. And somebody's coming for your job. And then we also, the kids at Mount Olive, hear it over and over again from the coaches. Baseball is going to end, whether it's going to be on your terms or somebody else's. Make it on your terms. And if you give it, like you said, you work as best you can, you go all out training, you give it your best, it didn't work out, that's fine. You don't want to look back later and say, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah, it's you. It's all up to you. It's not about what me and the coach, it's not about what we're saying. It's about what you do with what we're saying. Who cares what we say unless you do something about it, right? It doesn't matter what any coach has ever told you in your whole life unless you're going to do something about it. And I like what was the coach's name who said that?
That was Coach Mike Shepard at Seton Hall, the legend.
Yeah, if you're not getting better. So there is no neutral in life. There's no neutral. So if you're on a bicycle and you're coasting, the longer you can coast is because you're going downhill, right? There's no neutral. You're either moving forward or you're moving back. If you're standing still, you're moving back because there's other people moving forward. And that's what happened. And that's okay if you just want to be part of the team and that's not what you want. That's okay. Be honest with it. I just want to be part of the team. I don't want to be the best. I don't want to be the champion. And I'm telling you, that is okay if that's what you want. But the worst thing an athlete could do is, not go all out and think they're going to get an A, put in a C effort, and expect an A result, right? That's probably the biggest disappointment. So I like that. Can you get better every day? Go ahead, Coach. You want to say it? Go ahead.
I got one more thing that Coach Shepard used to always preach. A kid might be 3 for 3, and he would always just give him that little verbal jab. Hey, don't give up your last at-bat. Don't be satisfied with 3 hits today. A lot of kids, well, I got 2 hits today. I'm going to swing for the fences. Why give that up? At-bats are precious. Treat each one like it might be your last and you want it to end on a big knock. And too many kids go up there and they're satisfied. Well, I hit a homer today, or I hit a double. I got 2 hits. It's my last at-bat. No, don't give it up. And he was always preaching to these kids. Don't give up at-bats. Don't give it away.
You know, Coach, we can keep going back and forth all night. I do a locker room speech every Monday morning to help athletes ignite their training, like that locker room speech before you go into the game, except now you're going into your training. And one's coming out in a couple weeks, and one of them is good is the enemy of great. Whenever you think you're good, it's neither hot or cold. You're right in the middle. I'm good. I got this. Right? How many times you want a kid to do your, I'm good at that. I'm good at this. Good's the enemy of great. So if you want average, I'm at a war against average. All kids just want to be good. They just train to beat the teams they can beat. I want them to beat teams they can't beat, that nobody thinks they could beat. That's the athletes I'm looking for. And that's the athletes you're talking about, Coach. That's the athletes you're talking about that don't be satisfied. That doesn't mean you got to stay up all night and drive yourself crazy. But if what you did yesterday still looks big to you, as Mike Krzyzewski said, then you haven't done much today. What are you doing right now? You should enjoy what you did, yeah. But you're not supposed to live on it, right? What you did when you were at bat. And a lot of athletes say, I'm good enough, I'm good enough. That's fine. Then if you want to stay right here, keep it. But you're not going to be here. This is where I'm not satisfied is. And that's the point of all our athletes. We're trying to get the players to understand the difference between good and great. So you want to learn how to think like a champion, and then you can train like a champion. So, Coach, thanks for coming on. And you have any? You good now? You got it all out? Anything else?
I just want to say thank you very much. I want to, wish all the seniors the best of luck in the tournament and future endeavors. Go on out, have some fun, enjoy time with your friends. Okay, because some of these kids you'll never see again. You know, and that's tough for some of them to understand. Oh, no, I'll see them. We went to the same high school. We were the same class. You know, as you get a little older, you realize, geez, I never saw that kid since I left high school.
For some of you, this is your last chance. There's people this year that are going to see you for the first time. What are they going to see? That depends. Are you going to be all in on your focus, all in on your energy, all in on your team, and then and only then will you be able to go all out? Coach, thanks for joining us, and we'll see everybody next time on the Last Dance Baseball Tournament podcast. Thanks, Coach. Thank you for joining us. There's 3 guys responsible for the Last Dance Baseball Tournament, and 2 of them had come onto our podcast. One of them is Mike Murray, the originator of the idea from St. Joe's, the athletic director. The other one is a Major League Baseball recruiter, John Kroger. The third guy was the 2015 National Coach of the Year, and he's currently the head coach of the Melbourne Boys varsity baseball team, Brian Chapman. So check us out Monday night, 8 p.m. And if you want to think like a champion, join us every Thursday night at 8 p.m. as a professor in sports psychology comes on with us to give you the mental skills of a champion. And if you want to train like a champion, join me every Monday morning at 8 a.m. I give a locker room speech to boost your focus and energy, not to go into the game, to go into your training so you can train at the level of a champion. And if you would like us to come and reignite the fire within your organization, just email us, alloutathletes@gmail.com. If you're truly serious of getting to that level that you wish to play at, go to our YouTube channel and type in All Out Athletes. We'll see you next time.